Hello, everyone. I'd like to welcome you to the National Cybersecurity Student Association monthly webcast series. My name is Gustavo Hinojosa, Director for the Student Association. Today's webcast is called Cyber Up Your Resume by Anna Carlin and Tobi. So in this webcast, you'll learn how to prepare yourself and your resume for a career in cybersecurity. This presentation is include topics related to employer expectations, professional organizations, cybersecurity competition, cyber clubs, and more. At this time, I want to pass it over to Anna and Tobi.
Hi, this is Tobi West from Coastline College, and we have Anna Carlin on today as well. Anna and I have been colleagues for quite some time, and I've even taken some of her classes at Cal Poly Pomona. We enjoy sharing with students and others that would like to be maybe promoted within cybersecurity careers or move on from, changing careers, something like that. So we enjoy sharing how to prepare your resume, how to prepare yourself for those types of roles. And so we'll be talking today about some of the things that you can do to get yourself ready. And we use the Cyber Up term to be similar to like Hero Up or something you've heard elsewhere. And to me, it means get yourself ready for cybersecurity. So this is all about the things you can do to get yourself prepared, get your resume ready, and obviously classes alone are not enough. Just taking some cybersecurity classes will not be enough. So Anna, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure, I'm Anna Carlin. I'm an instructor over at Fullerton College in Southern California, where the weather is nice and bright here. Sorry about the rest of y'all that are experiencing some snow, but I'm here today to talk more about, from an instructor's perspective, the things that I've shared with my students to ensure that they're getting the most out of the classes that they are teaching and the opportunities available to them today to make them more marketable when they go into the workforce. I'm also on the board of directors of SACA, which is a international professional association, and when we get to professional associations, I'll talk about that a little bit more, that can really help you in getting experience prior to graduation.
So Coastline and Fullerton College are pretty near Disneyland, I would say. So we're a little bit distant from the fire, so we don't seem to be affected at this point by them. I know some people may be questioning that on the chat. There's quite a bit of chat going, so I won't be able to necessarily answer every question as we go. So we'll talk about these topics today, and obviously curriculum is focusing on your classes that you're taking, and you want to make sure that you're taking the right classes. And those classes might be offered, you might have choices when you get to your electives or other things. So if you're in a program that clearly defines which classes, then you should be on the right track. But if you have an option, let's say Cal Poly has some options for data analytics or networking or more focused on cybersecurity directly, then you still have choices within that. So you want to look at what jobs in the future you're aiming for and choose classes that are suited to those jobs. And sometimes it's a little bit tough to know what you want in your future. So maybe researching some of those jobs, you might hear cybersecurity analyst or some type of role like that that interests you, or penetration tester. Go find out what the job responsibilities are by researching a variety of companies to see what types of responsibilities they put under those job titles, and then look at the classes that are offered to see what will be taught in those classes to try to choose the best ones. Did you want to add something to that, Anna?
Yeah, and the one thing is picking the classes to get your exposure to the field itself, but also you should want to partner up with the instructors that you're taking those classes with, because they bring a wealth of experience into the classroom, and share with you also how they got into this field, because we all started someplace, and you never know who they know as well. I previously worked on am I still there?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I was previously working at Cal Poly Pomona for 20 years, so I have quite a few students that have graduated out of our program that now come back as our interns. and full-time positions from our graduates from the program. So it's not just taking the right classes, but also identifying the faculty members that have the expertise in the area that you want to go into after graduation.
Right, definitely. So I'm getting students coming back now. I've been at Cal Poly, this is starting or ending my 5th year there. So I'm getting some students coming back as well and giving feedback on the classes, but also very excited to be in possibly a hiring position to talk to students and find out, are you still taking the same material as I took? And if you are, then I know this material and I'm, ready to hire perhaps because of that. So Anna, we're getting some in the chat. I don't know if you're following, but there's some people saying that they're not really hearing us very well. So I don't know if there's any way for you to be closer to the mic.
Yeah, I can't, and it's amped up. So I'm going to dial in then. So
okay.
I'll be mute for a little bit, and then I'll come in on the phone and see if that improves things.
Okay. So we'll go on and move to speaking about competition specifically. Anna and I have participated in and volunteered at quite a few different cybersecurity related competitions. And some of the options would be things like CCDC, the Collegiate Cyber Defense Competition. Each region has their own competition, and then that culminates with all the regional winners going on to national CCDC. And at this point, it's in the season, it's invitational time. So each month, the teams from the schools that are participating in the regional competitions go to, well, at least in our Western region, they go online and participate in the invitationals, which gives them an opportunity to verify their skills, build them up, practice, find out what the competition is actually like in preparation for the qualifiers that are in January. At least that's the way our region goes in the Western area. And then if you want to go to that website to read more, ours is wrccdc.org. We definitely have people that need to mute themselves. So if you'd like to go to read about CCDC, you can go to ccdc.org, or you can look at wrccdc.org, and you can read more about the competitions, how it flows. But the beauty of WRCCDC, the way that it's run for our area, is that you get to practice your skills with an actual red team hacking your blue team at your school, and those are actual professionals. They work in industry and they know how to attack systems. So if you're defending, you get the opportunity to find out what it would be like to have your system hacked, but without the risk of getting fired from your job. So you get to practice and play and enjoy yourself and stress out and all of those things that you would normally do in a competition, with the fun of knowing that there's no actual risk, to your business. That's one of the competitions. Another would be National Cyber League, which is NCL. And National Cyber League they have fall and spring competition. It's just about $25 for students to register. In our area, our college pays for it. At Coastline College pays for our students. And then many other colleges may do that as well if you want to check with your school to find out if, we have people posting for us to let us know that NCL is in postseason now, which I believe is the team segment. So if you want to check out more about NCL, it's nationalcyberleague.org. And I know the commissioner is currently listening. Are you there, Anna? Have you been able to come back on?
Yeah, I'm back on. One of the things about the competitions is that they have sponsors that give the institution money to run the event, because there's a lot of heavy lifting in putting on activities like this. But part of their expectation is that they're going to interface with you as students to see what are the things that you're learning in your classes, and also what are you doing in the competition, how well it's going, how you're responding to things, because they're looking to recruit people into their organization, whether it's as an intern or potentially a full-time hire. And in fact, one year from the Western Regional CCDC, we had Boeing come in and hire the entire Cal Poly Pomona team. So the sponsors are very interested in these types of competitions. With NCL, the sponsors also have access to the leaderboard, so they can see how individuals are doing and be able to start interacting with them to see if there could be a match between them and their organization.
Oh, I think we have somebody that might need to mute themselves again.
and Dan Manson put in the chat room that NCL has scouting reports for each of the players that you can share with potential employers, so they could see, oh, I did the password cracking and I was able to finish it 100% with a certain accuracy rate. And it also gives the potential employer some some questions that they can ask you, and you can share what your experience has been in the competitions or as a special project as a part of one of your classes as well.
Mm-hmm. So our competition team at Coastline College, we also use the student club as a way to practice for the competition, to recruit for the competition, to allow students to come and as they're practicing, new students can come and find out what are these competitions all about, what does it look like, how do I practice, where do I fit in with the team. So we have a cybersecurity club called Exploit that meets every Tuesday night, and I change it to match weekly to match with the semester. So this particular semester, my class ends at 8 p.m. on Tuesday, so then we have the student club meeting from 8 to 10 p.m. And currently, all of our students in Exploit are also NCSA members, so that to me is great. We use the club as an opportunity to prepare for any cybersecurity events that we're going to have on campus, to remind those students to be mentors for others, to have them do some outreach to raise awareness about cybersecurity and things of that nature. And then at the four-year school at Cal Poly Pomona, the student clubs, they actually have three major student clubs, a fourth one that's somewhat active. But these three different clubs, they take on different personas for the club, one being focused on cybersecurity, another one being focused very specifically on forensics, and the other one being more of management information systems. So those are MISA and SWIFT and FAST, and those clubs are associated with the professional organizations. So that is a different avenue that your school could take. If you're trying to form a club and figure out what would be the purpose of the club, you could build intent in just the practicing for competitions and the outreach to the other populations, so that you could raise cybersecurity awareness by putting on small workshops, by putting on small presentations, bringing in industry professionals. And the best way I think to do that is to pair up with a professional association. Did you want to say more about clubs, Anna, or start talking about the professional associations and maybe go back?
From being in a professional association, I like to have the link back to the student clubs on the college campus. Now, how many of you are familiar with professional associations? You can click on the yes box in the participant window to give me a sense of how many are already familiar with professional associations. I'm getting quite a few.
That's quite a few no's. Just a couple of yeses.
Well, the professional associations are people working in a specific industry or career field that are trying to stay on top of developments in their field. So these are already working in the field, are trying to keep up with either their certifications or their knowledge base. And so with me being on the board of ISACA Los Angeles, it's the founding chapter for ISACA International, which actually we're celebrating 50 years next year. And we are always looking for events or student clubs on college campuses that we can come back to and share that, what is the role of professional associations? When you graduate, you still need to maintain all of your skills your credentials, certifications, things along those lines, that's where the professional associations help you. And it also provides you an opportunity to network with people that are already working in the field. And so you can sit down and talk to them over dinner, very casual. And usually when I've had students sit down at the dinner meetings and start talking to the other membership, they think that we're really nice. Initially, they think that we're a bit standoffish, but we're not. And then usually they're looking for students that they might want to recruit into their organization, or if they really like you, they'll know somebody that might be hiring as well that they can connect you with. And I always encourage my students to go to the professional association meetings, whether it's SACA, ISSA is the other one, Information Systems Security Association. A few cyber czars to the president have come out of that organization. There's also HTCIA, which is the High Technology Crime Investigators Association, which is more security, digital forensics. You also have InfraGard as a part of that. I feel like I'm missing somebody. Oh, I can't remember them all.
That's all I can think of at the moment as well.
And so being on the board, we're looking to connect with the schools, and some of the professional associations also have student clubs or student groups or student charters, they might call them, of their from their organization. And that's to start opening up that gateway for students to participate in the professional association, meet people that are already working in the field, and then also for the membership to give back to the higher education. And it's not unusual for people on our board to go and do a guest lecture at a college. It's not unusual. Or just come and talk to your class about what are the careers in cybersecurity. So they're more than willing to come back to the colleges. We also use them to tell us if our curriculum is fresh or if it's getting stale, and what we need to change to make that difference in our students graduating out of our program. So we do a lot of work with the professional associations, and they also get something from that as potential employers. ISC Square, yes, that's the one I saw.
Yeah. And OWASP. So OWASP is the Web Application Security Group, and they're really great if that's your focus. And they can, and even if you're just going to be in cybersecurity in general, that's a great website to read if you want to see the top 10 lists to see what security threats are out there. And they put all the vulnerabilities in great lists. So that's a really good one. I'm glad somebody put that in the chat. Professional associations in our area, in particular in Orange County, California, they meet and they're very small. So you have an opportunity to meet with professionals. If you go in as a student, they recognize that you're there to build your network and to find out more about cybersecurity in general, typically. So my students just last night in the computer forensics class were asking me about that. What is it like when you go to an association meeting for your local chapter? Well, in Orange County, it might be 10, 15, 20 people for the Orange County monthly meeting. And then in LA, at the big, let's say the December meeting where they might be reviewing resumes or something like that, it might be a much bigger crowd of maybe 100 or something of that nature. And they usually give a discount for students to come, and they usually have food. So if you're hungry and you want, a good meal for an inexpensive amount and to do some networking, that's a really good opportunity for you to put your 2 cents in on what's going on from a student perspective and hear from professionals about what their career is like, or even what their company is like. You may have decided on a specific career path, but you don't know what type of industry or what company you might want to work for. And they can give you a sense of what their company culture is like. And they may have worked at other companies, so they might be able to give you an idea of different industries or different companies, what it's like. So think about joining.
Oh, sorry, Toby. And one of the things is my first job after graduation, I got through the Career Center on my college campus. Every position I've held since then was through my professional association. sometimes I get a call saying, hey, we thought of you, we have this open position. And sometimes it's like, well, let's talk a little bit more. And other times it's like, that's not exactly what I'm looking for.
Right. It's all timing too, right?
Yeah. And that's where the networking comes into play here. So I encourage students, we have a career night in September, right before the heavy recruiting season for the May graduates. And it's not unusual to have 150, 175 people attending there, and it's not all students. And they're reviewing resumes, they're giving them feedback. And I tell my students, set up your LinkedIn profile before you get there, which is talking some about the digital persona. And as you're talking to them, say, hey, I'm going to send you a LinkedIn request. And a lot of times they'll pull out their phone right then and there and go ahead and accept it. So now you've got a more permanent connection to them.
Right, which is great to have on your LinkedIn account. You want more professional connections instead of only the students from your class or the people that you know right around you. You want to start building that network so that you can look at other people's profiles and get ideas of jobs you might want or things you want to add to your skill set. So you might see their list of job responsibilities and think, hey, that's really great. It's something I want to aim for, and start building your skill set towards that list. Would you say any internships come out of the professional associations, Anna?
Oh, most definitely. Because sometimes the hiring managers are inundated with too many resumes. And so by going to the professional association, they actually get to meet you face to face. And a lot of times you are talking to the hiring manager. You're not talking to somebody in human resources that is got this little checklist of here's all the things the resume has to have. For professional associations, when the hiring managers are there, it's like, okay, well, you already took one step further by coming to our professional association. You're talking to me. They can see whether you'd probably be a fit for the team that you would be working with. And as I mentioned previously, sometimes they are hiring, whether it's an internship or a full-time position, and other times they may not, but if they really like you, they know somebody else that's probably hiring and would introduce you to them, usually at the association meeting. And that's why we decided for the LA chapter of ASACA to heavily discount the students attending the dinner meeting. We charge $10, and sometimes it's a prime rib dinner, and other times it's, the traditional rubber chicken. But it's a phenomenal opportunity to directly connect with hiring managers. And in all honesty, we think it's a big world. It's not. After a while, somebody's either going to know you or they know somebody that does know you. We can check each other out and see if this is somebody you want to invite in, whether it's an internship or a full-time position.
Right. So I think when I went to the professional associations as a student, it was only $5. Price hiked to the $10. So kind of to distinguish some things between internship and apprenticeship, in case you're wondering why both of these items are on the slides, and you probably hear the term internship a heck of a lot more than you hear apprenticeship. So internship typically means that you are working with your college and getting credit, hopefully college credit towards your degree, and then working with an employer that you may have to find on your own. So you may be, looking out there on the web to find your own internship, but you, at Cal Poly anyway, you could earn credit towards your degree, and so you're earning money at your internship with your employer and then earning college credit by turning in some assignments related to your internship where you have a plan. It's a planned approach at an employer for an internship. So you shouldn't be going there and they say, make coffee and go record, my favorite TV show or something generic like that. In this type of internship, you should have a plan, and they should usually have a project for you of some sort that weaves in with the courses you've taken or the career you're planning to go towards. The goal at that job, you should have some objective that lend itself to your coursework, and that your coursework is in line and helping you on the job. So that's usually what an internship is. Some areas may call it a co-op. It depends on what your school does in your area. Coastline College specifically has an apprenticeship for students in California, and now we're focused on the LA and Orange County areas in California. The apprenticeship that we offer happens to have free tuition, free books, and free certification attempts for specific certifications under CompTIA that we offer. So our apprenticeship, the goal is that you would have some academic courses that you get college credit for and 2,000 working hours towards objectives that meet those criteria that we've outlined as cybersecurity related. So jobs could be anywhere as long as it's a cybersecurity job in California, and typically we're partnering students with jobs in Orange County and LA. So an apprenticeship in this case is typically, the term is typically used in the trades, like the building trades and things like that. Construction type of companies usually have, their unions usually have an apprenticeship. And ours in particular is front-loaded at Coastline, meaning that we offer courses first to help students prepare and have some training before they go to work with an employer. And we do have a minimum scale of wages that the employer must pay to them in order to be one of our partners. So it's the academic coursework plus the 2,000 working hours is our goal for our apprentices. And our apprenticeship has 50 positions that we need to fill to meet those 2,000 hours and the 8 classes at Coastline College. So if you're interested in that, the website is ccap-coastline.org, and I'll try to put it in the chat and hopefully somebody can grab that up. So it's ccap-coastline.org. Yep, somebody got it. Thanks, Gus. So our apprenticeship is very focused on the amount of hours, where an internship doesn't necessarily have a specific amount of hours, although companies like Sony or others may have specific weeks of the year that they run their internship. It doesn't necessarily have to fall under that criteria. So you might look up different internship positions and find just a slew of different ways that they go about running their internship. And from the past, interns used to be unpaid, but some of the laws and cases that have gone about in California, we're recommending that you don't go to an unpaid internship. Those typically are non-structured. They don't really have projects for you. So if you are going to go to an unpaid internship, I highly recommend that you find out what the learning objectives would be at that position, what type of tasks and responsibilities they would have for you, because you don't want to be held accountable for something and you're not even being paid for the work that you're doing. So value yourself and make sure that you're getting into a good position where you will learn things and not be treated poorly and unpaid. Do you want to talk a little bit about either of those topics, Anna?
Yes, the internship, a lot of students think that the job title has to say intern, and really what you're doing is trying to get on-the-job experience in, the CIS, computer information systems, or computer science, or cybersecurity. So don't just search for the title intern. And as a part of that, each of the states are starting to jump on the apprenticeship model. And California has sunk a lot of money into it at the community college level to create apprenticeships like Toby was describing. And there's been times where I've had students tell me that, I want to work for one of the big 4 consulting companies when I graduate. And I'm sitting there thinking, well, I don't really see you there. But you know what? Go see if you can get a summer internship with them. And they will go and we talk at the end of it. So how did it go? And they said, oh, consulting, that's crazy. That is not something I want to do day in and day out. And I said, great. So sometimes doing the internship is you're crossing things off of your list and start zeroing in on what makes the most sense. And if there isn't many internships in your area, talk to the IT folks on your college campus about setting up a student internship program, because most campuses have too many projects and not enough people to work on them. And so you would be able to help them with some of their lower level priority projects and giving them the work that they're not able to have the time to complete. So you can create a win-win situation like that at your college. But yeah, like I say, the apprenticeships are starting to come up, and it takes a little bit of time to get some traction with those. But if you've got the right leadership at your school to work on that, like Tobi's over at Coastline, heading that all up for them, it's a well-oiled machine. Like Tobi said, we've got 50 positions we've got to fill. That's a great position to be in.
Right. And a good point about the internships, that if your college doesn't currently offer that as student internships, ours, let's say, for example, at the village or at the dorms, they need a constant amount of help. They have a help desk that they run, and they have student interns run that. So it's a great opportunity for students to work with other students and hear those different perspectives when someone needs help with something. Because you can work on a project in, you know, small teams, but you don't get to hear as many voices as you do when you run, say, a help desk. And you can learn a lot about IT by having to just run out and fix things at different classrooms or different dorm rooms or wherever that might be. So if that's something that your school doesn't have, or maybe you don't know that they do yet, check into it and see if this is something that they may be interested in, because it could help you get your foot in the door in the future. Like Anna said, you know, maybe you have a goal that you plan for after you finish at your university or your two-year school, but you need to start working as soon as you can, even if it's a small amount of hours, because you need that experience so that you have something to say in the interview when you graduate. And so you have some work experience on your resume rather than simply saying, I focused on my classes, I didn't have any time for anything else. You know, get your foot in the door and start doing something actively that prepares you for that job, that career that you want in the future.
And the internship and the apprenticeships are a great tool for helping you apply what you're learning in the classes in the real world. And you'll start seeing where things in your classes just tend to make common sense because you've already done it, whether it's in an internship or an apprenticeship. So sometimes you got to make it for yourself if there aren't many in your area. And again, I push back with the professional associations. Those are the folks that if they haven't considered it and they've got a student standing right in front of them that they really like, it's like, you know what, let me go back to work and start chatting them up about setting up some kind of program.
Right, and sometimes they're a small enough company that they just need, you know, one or two, or maybe they're a large enough company that they really haven't thought enough about setting up a program yet, and you put that into their, you know, list of ideas to go ahead and do. The one thing I also want to say about timing, if you are working on your bachelor's degree, don't wait until the summer of your senior year to try to go for an internship. You want to be thinking about it during the fall of your junior year, or even sophomore if you can, you know, starting as soon as you can, but don't wait until that senior year. In our area in particular, a lot of the companies are hiring in January and February, and they'll be bringing those people on for the summer. They want to prepare, they want to arrange everyone, have all of their projects set up. They want a commitment really early on, so they need time for interviewing and that sort of thing. If they're running a large-scale internship program, they don't wait until May. And a lot of students come to me and they say in May of their senior year, they're about to graduate, and they ask me, how does my resume look? And I'm thinking, it's a little late to be thinking about your resume now. I know right when you buy your cap and gown, you start thinking about your resume, but hopefully this, you know, webinar is helping you think about that you're getting your resume ready earlier and preparing. And I see in the chat that some people are saying that they're already graduated, they already have their BS. What now? How do I get my foot in the door? And that may be going back to your student clubs, going back to those professional associations in your area. If you can't get on, if you don't have a local chapter of a professional association, maybe join InfraGard or something that does have a national presence that you can join. Perhaps there's something that you can start joining more webinars and get to know some people so that you can add them to your list in your network and try to figure out how you can work with them to help you get your foot in the door somewhere.
And I saw a comment in the chat room about those transitioning out of the military, and which I've got some experience with that, because here in California, most of the folks transitioning out of the military are showing up at the community colleges first. And so Google just enhanced their search engine that would list jobs for veterans where you would input your MOS and it would translate it into, I don't want to say the civilian world, but the skills that you would be looking for in non-military type positions. And so take advantage of that. It just came out a couple of weeks ago. And that's something that I really push with our ex-military, as well as there's certain companies like defense contractors that love getting the military because that's who they support. And so they're hiring people transitioning out of the military because they already understand their customer, the military. And so that is, and there's also your experience in the military that speaks volumes to them, the perseverance and commitment and several other things that are very attractive to employers. So don't ever think that your military experience isn't going to help you be marketable in certain areas. Your name will jump up to the front of the list because of your military experience.
Right. I see in the chat somebody mentioned that perhaps their employers that they've been seeking out are a little reluctant to hire somebody military, but what I've found is the ones that the veterans that have spoken to me and shared their resume with me, what I found on there is that their wording was very military style. So you might want to reach out to your local career center or have other people at a professional association read through your resume and make sure you're not adding too many additions to it. So I know in the military you receive a lot of achievements and awards, and I've had students come with a 15-page resume that has all of those achievements attached. You don't need to attach those when you're putting together your simple resume that you're trying to get someone's attention. So think of a resume as like your marketing flyer. You're not going to put everything in there and turn it into an encyclopedia of you. You want it to be as easy to read and easy to follow and understand, get a sense of who you are. So if you're having those challenges, maybe have somebody give you some advice, review it, talk to them about it, and think about from the private industry what type of terminology they're using compared to what you may have experienced in the military. So that's just my take on what I've seen so far with a few veteran students.
Yeah, and Susan mentioned in the chat room, you really want two different types of resumes, the ones going to the private sector and the ones going DoD or in the public sector, which tend to run longer. Private sector, it's like, man, I got maybe at the most 30 seconds to look at your resume. And so, yeah, you're definitely right that there's two different types that you would want to have depending on who you're pursuing.
Right, and it's all about terminology, phrases that you use so that you can, prepare to tailor your resume. And we all have to do that. We all have to tailor our resume. I'm not only saying veterans need to do this. It's just perspective. You, as a student, you learn things a certain way at your college, and then you get out into private industry and you find out there's a whole new mindset and a whole new way that you have to phrase your resume in order to gain their attention. So keep that in mind and try to get multiple people to look at your resume, not just one or two, not only one person at your career center. You want to bounce it off of as many people as you can and use some jobs, use some job responsibility lists, go look for careers that you want, that you're aiming towards, and tailor your resume to go along with that, not simply put together a resume that speaks about who you are. You also want to make sure that it matches up with what's out there as far as what the companies are looking for or the government agencies are looking for, depending on who you're aiming towards. Anything more?
Yeah, the one thing I'd like to add here is, because I'm seeing some folks in the communications area that are now getting into cybersecurity, is you have to be able to communicate well, whether it's oral or written. And so those of you coming from that viewpoint, from the communication side, you actually are filling a much desired skill set, because you're going to have to explain very technical issues to somebody that does not have a technical background. And so it's in this field, it's not just about the techie. You have to be able to share it, help them understand what is the risk involved associated with this, and then, oh, here's recommended solutions as a part of that.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. So I see that people are asking in the chat about certification, so we'll talk a little bit about that topic. Specifically, the certifications that I see that are the least expensive for students and that have a pathway are the CompTIA certifications, but of course every aspect of cybersecurity and every company and every government agency is looking for different things. So if you want to look at CompTIA's website, comptia.org, CompTIA is a great way for you to get an academic discount. A simple Google search of academic discount CompTIA will take you to the link. They give you about a 40% discount. All of their learning objectives and everything are all online, so it's not difficult. You don't know what, I mean, you aren't stuck wondering what will the test be like. They explain it very well. Most areas have a Pearson VUE testing center where you can go take a certification. But one of the questions that a lot of students ask me is, how do I know which certification to go after? Because obviously CompTIA is not the only one out there, and there are just hundreds, if not thousands, of options. And especially if you have no certification exams under your belt yet, what should you go after? And what I recommend is that you look up the job title that you want, go on Indeed or Monster or whatever it is, look up job postings, or go to Kaiser's website or the Big Four, you know, go to the consulting companies, see what they want you to have, and try to focus on that type of certification exam. Don't just go out there and get, you know, a dozen of them. You don't need that many certifications. One should be sufficient depending on what the type of job role is. But what this does is it sets you apart from the other resumes that have simply a, you know, bachelor's of science in cybersecurity or a related type of bachelor's degree. If you have that certification, they may be choosing between you and a couple of other qualified candidates, and they may choose you because you have a certification under your belt. They know that you're committed, that you want to focus on a specific topic, and that you have the diligence to follow through and make that commitment to take the certification exam and actually pass it. So that is something that's pretty critical, I think, to have on your resume. And, you know, we've given you sort of a laundry list of things already. So if that's the thing you're doing in the, you know, 13th hour as you're finishing your degree, and this is what you have because you didn't go after the internship or the professional associations yet, you know, go after that certification. Something like a Security Plus is maybe a couple of $100, Security Plus under CompTIA, and that shows your commitment to that. Did you want to throw in something else about certifications?
I did. There's also a website called cybersec.org.
I just put it in the chat a little bit ago.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I didn't see that. And it's very good about showing you, even in your metropolitan area, how many positions are open, but it also gives you a sense for the certifications. It's in like the lower right-hand quadrant of the first screen. It shows you what certifications are being listed in the job openings. And you can see which ones are sought after by employers. Now, some of them that they're looking for, like the CISSP or the CISA, CISM, those require so much work experience as well as passing a knowledge-based exam. So that's not something that they expect to see college graduates coming out with. And so doing the CompTIA, as Toby mentioned, is a great entree and separates you from everybody else that's graduating that hasn't done the competitions, hasn't gone after the certification. And it's just giving you a better advantage over everybody else. And then most of the companies I've worked for, if there's certain certifications that they wanted, they would send me to the training class. They would pay for my exam. Of course, I had to pass it the first time though. But if the employer values those higher level certifications, they tend to pay for those.
That's true. As professional development, usually they'll give you some sort of stipend for it or something. You're right. Definitely. And to add another point, many of the community colleges, their courses will focus on a specific certification. So although they don't necessarily pay for that certification attempt, usually the class is tailored around a specific certification. I mean, not every class is, but if there's a class towards a certification, they tailor it to meet the objectives of the most current certification. And Coastline has quite a few, and we do appreciate the CompTIA line of certifications and have quite a few classes centered around that. And if you haven't heard of the latest ones, they have Pen Test Plus and Cybersecurity Analyst Plus. These don't have a lot of traction yet, though I will point that out. CompTIA isn't always viewed as the high level like CISSP or CISA or those types of certifications, because you don't have to have the work experience, but they could be the game changer between you and another resume, is the point. Did you have anything else, Anna?
No, not on that, I don't.
So we'll move on to digital persona. This is one of my favorite assignments that I give to a lot of my classes that I first learned from Anna about. So I'll let you go ahead and share that topic.
Well, one of the things as you're moving through your college program is you're going to be approaching individuals about potential employment, whether it's internship, apprenticeship, or hopefully full-time employment after graduation. And one of the first things they're going to do is take a look at what they can see about you online. And so I always encourage my students to make sure that they set up their LinkedIn profile. And even here, we actually have a photographer that will come in and spend anywhere from 4 to 8 hours spread over a few days of taking headshots so that you can upload those into your LinkedIn account and start posting, here's projects that I'm doing in my class. And there's also a lot of articles that have been written about employers searching online for applicants applying to their organization. And so sometimes students will say that, there's nothing out there, and that's good. And I said, well, they kind of wonder, what are your interests then? And so you can create that online persona to start promoting your interest in cybersecurity and what are some of the leaders that you are following and commenting on their tweets or their LinkedIn comments, liking them, whatever the case may be. And this is just showing that you're getting more involved in the field and that you're following the leaders, and which is really building your knowledge base as well. And then that's a very simple way of starting to build that digital persona, but you gotta feed it. And so earlier today, I tweeted out that we were going to be doing this webcast tonight. And I got several retweets on that. I even got a call from Dan Manson saying, "Are you nervous?" And I said, "No." And so, that's another way to extend out your reach and start showing that you're serious about being in this field.
Right. I have a couple students that started doing this on LinkedIn. They post on a regular basis, almost a daily basis, to talk about the things that they're doing and how it's impacting their lives, because they are so excited about cybersecurity. They want to share it with other people, and they realize that not everybody even understands what cybersecurity is. So as we're learning things, we can reshare them and build more interest and awareness and raise awareness about cybersecurity through the things that we say. And LinkedIn is a really great venue for that, because then professionals see you and they see your interest, your ability to write, your ability to share, your ability to take in knowledge. They see all of this. It's almost like giving them a view of you as a student and an employee all at once. So is a great venue. Obviously, you can use Twitter, you can use other things to connect with professionals as well and start looking at their tweets and understanding what their world is like, what their company culture is like as well, and what their job might be like on a regular basis. What do they experience? And you start sharing this with the community and helping build the security community, we all know that we need more cybersecurity professionals. So building your digital persona includes you sharing out, also considering what you have out there. You know, some students may have their Facebook still public, and they may be posting things on Facebook that they don't like and want to maybe hide from your timeline, or, you know, lock yourself down and be more private so that people have to ask for your permission to add you as a friend, that they can't, and not just publicly available to add you at any point, so that you have the right people in your network and that you're sharing the right things out. You know, as an early teenager, you may have posted things online that now you don't find so favorable, and some people may post a lot politically or religious-based, or something that they might get pigeonholed in a certain way that they don't want to be perceived. So then you can start building up your digital persona and putting the things out there that you want an employer to see, that you want the security community to see about you, so that you're reflecting the right things out.
Yeah, and get rid of your MySpace account from when you were 13.
Right.
But one of the tools that I use to help manage my Twitter, my LinkedIn, my Facebook, my Instagram, I use a tool called HootSuite, like Hoot the Owl. And it's in one tool. I can hook it up with all of my social media, and it helps me, you know, shorten the URLs and stay within the parameters of how many characters it could be. And I can also schedule things to go out. So if I have an event going on for National Cybersecurity Awareness Month, which was last month, I'm sending out announcements several days leading up to the event. I just sit down for a couple of hours, I plan it all out, enter it in HootSuite, and I want it released on this day at this time, and it does a lot of the work for me.
Mm-hmm. That's really great to, you know, just like I said, raise awareness and make sure that people know what you're working on, so that they may be interested in you as an employee. Do we want to move on to the? Oh,
yeah, I put the URL for HootSuite out there on the chat.
Awesome. I think Gus is helping us too, keeping everyone posted on the things we're saying. So we'll talk now about mentoring, being mentored, finding a mentor, and also mentoring others. I think that kind of goes back to the digital persona, the specific students that I mentioned. They've been in volunteer and mentoring positions. So they've gone to things like the SFS, Scholarship for Service programs, the camps, and they've helped volunteer at the camp. So then they get the opportunity to take pictures. They get the opportunity to do some, you know, tech support for it. They also get to network with their peers, the students that are in college currently, and find out what are they interested in, what are they planning to do in their future career, where are they planning to work, because that may be something that you find interesting as well. So they're mentoring in a sense that they're getting out there and talking to others and sharing their personal experience. And what I have my college students do is mentor for Cyber Patriot, which is a cyber defense competition for middle school and high school kids. And we offer that as a training program at Coastline College on a monthly basis. And we ask the college students to come and give back by mentoring. So I'm hoping this is something that you all choose to do. Don't only think of this as an opportunity for you to find a mentor, which is a great opportunity, and I'll let Anna talk about that as well, but for you to think about mentoring students who are just coming into cybersecurity, because they want to know what it's like to be in college. They want to know what it's like to work in a cyber career. So if you go to those types of events and share that knowledge and share that experience with them, they may be more entrenched into it, and we may be able to build this cybersecurity community that we've been working so hard towards. So do you want to talk about finding a mentor from a professional association?
Yes, you can find your mentors anywhere, and somebody posted in here that one of their professors is their mentor. And so you're going to be looking for individuals that have more life experience and work experience than yourself, or sometimes similar life experience. I've seen this on the military side works better, where they're going to be, you can ask them anything, and they're not going to think that you're stupid. They're not going to laugh at you. And sometimes they're sharing the history behind why something is a certain way. And so for me, working at Cal Poly Pomona, a four-year school for 20 years, and deciding to come to a community college, I felt like I was starting all over. But I went and I found the knowledgeable people on campus and said, I need your help. I'm having difficulty with this. And sometimes they're like, you know what? That isn't that hard. It's a lot simpler here than maybe the Cal State that you came from. And so, and then other times it was like, well, here's some differences. So they're great at being a sounding board as far as what things would work at your school. But then they also may, much like hiring managers you meet at a professional association, is find opportunities for you to grow in areas that you need to grow in, and also tell you when you're slacking off. And so you want them to be truthful with you, but also have them provide you constructive criticism. Now, do I have the same mentors that I had when I graduated from college? No. So some will come in at certain points in your work life, and then they'll go away and you develop different mentors. And hopefully, like Toby said, you get to the point where you can provide that to somebody else as well.
Definitely. I know for sure Anna Carlin and Dr. Dan Manson have done that for me at Cal Poly. I wasn't sure what career path I wanted. I knew I wanted to go and work on my master's, and I knew I was in a program, but I really didn't know what I was going to do with it after I was done. And I asked them, used them as sounding boards and asked them for their advice. And then I ended up working at Coastline College because I asked and because I remained involved. I volunteered. I tried to give back to the community. I didn't have time for student clubs because they were at the lunch hour, and I was working full time when I was working on my master's. So I had to find ways to engage with the community and figure out how I would, move on from the job that I was at. So some of us are in that position where we already have a job and we know we need to either make the same amount of money or more in order to move on to the career we want in cyber. And that's sometimes a challenge. You need to find somebody who can kind of tell you what to do to make some of those moves. And they might not necessarily tell you, do this, do this, do this, but they give you some advice on what they've seen out there or what they've heard, and then you make your decisions from there. Do you have more on mentoring, Anna?
No.
As my mentor?
That we're getting close to our
Yep.
the end of our time commitment. So I changed the slide because some folks were asking what our Twitter handles were and our emails and things like that. So I put a slide together here so with Toby and my contact information, and you connect with me on LinkedIn. That'd be great. And hopefully you've enjoyed the presentation. I'm trying to see if there's some questions out there on the chat board. Any final comments you want to make, Toby?
I think that we're good. I mean, I would love to have everyone check out the Coastline Apprenticeship, which is that ccap-coastline.org website, just so they can get a sense of what our apprenticeship program is like, and that may be the balance point for them to go find an apprenticeship in their area. And I hope you enjoyed all of the topics. I think we can ask Gus, and thank you, Anna, for participating with me. Maybe we can ask Gus if he likes to open it up and how we normally might answer questions.
Yeah, we can open up for questions right now. So if anybody has any questions, just place them in the chat box. And I got a couple here. So I'm an alumni that's trying to get into the field, and I'm having a great deal of problems of getting into the field. So how can a student get into the field after they graduated? I think we covered a little bit about that.
I think we did. I think one of the best ways is to try to find a local chapter of a professional association so that you can network with professionals that are working in industry that may be looking to hire. And that doesn't mean go to one meeting and you didn't really like it, so you don't go back. I mean, it needs to be something that you do on a regular basis so that they recognize your face and start to recognize that you are a professional and understand your demeanor, where they might not get that in the first 5 or 10 minutes of a meeting. Another chance is to go out and mentor so that you make those connections. And if you're mentoring at something like Cyber Patriot, there may be some industry professionals there, or if you're looking for government agencies, whatever the case is, doing a combination of those things in addition to working towards a certification can really help you get some additional items on your resume that will help you stand apart and, you know, perhaps build your network at the same time.
Yeah, and if I can add to that, I was out working with a Patriot event and ran into the chief technology officer for Disney. Wouldn't have expected it there. So sometimes just getting out there and doing it is what you would have a best interaction with, but also volunteer at the professional association. They usually have.
Oh, I think.
Okay, I'm back.
There you are.
It sounds like I'm talking like a mouse.
It sounds okay.
Oh, okay. Yeah, there's that bad echo again. I can't help on that. So I'll go mute and let Tobi continue.
Okay.
All right, so we have another question. Any idea that how to leverage a 4-year career in electronics manufacturing into InfoSec career change?
Yeah, I saw that there were a couple talking about transitioning from other careers. I don't have specific advice how to leverage a specific career into it, but looking at jobs that have some responsibilities that you're familiar with could be a great way, because you can explain to them some of your existing professional experience and leverage it, and they can understand it. But if you're just trying to jump to something completely different, I don't have a specific, advice except try to tailor your resume to explain as many of the skills or how you're transitioning so that they understand that you're transitioning. I think what I saw a lot as a hiring manager is people would give me a resume that was nothing like the job they wanted, and I couldn't tell, and I didn't have time to go through those resumes and wonder what their hopes and dreams are. I had to just, quickly, if I'm going through 100 resumes, I need to be able to see who's going to rise to the top, who has those skills. So if you're trying to, job jump and switch to a new career, I guess my best advice is make sure you're tailoring your resume to match the new job and putting something right at the top what your objective is, so it's very clear to the reader that you are looking to change careers, that your resume isn't just in the wrong pile by mistake. So putting things right up to the top, that your certification or your degree you're working on, put those things right at the top so that the reader knows that you do want a new career.
All right, so this last question, what are some entry-level positions to look for?
You have a bit of a muffle or something, so I'm having a hard time understanding your question. Sorry, again.
What are some entry-level positions to look for?
The best thing to do is go to cyberseek.org, and it lists those. There's an interactive pathway, so you can see some of the entry-level job titles, and if you click on each one, it also shows you what type of certifications or skills or something of that nature that you can work towards. So let's say you do want to go after this entry-level position and you're prepping yourself for the next 6 months. What Cyberseek does is it shows you the pathway towards the future, but it also gives you the specific skills that you can start working on. So you can find your skills gap and then maybe take a specific class. Maybe you're going to augment your 4-year degree with a community college class or with a certification, or you're going to go do some self-study. Find ways to look at your skills gap and work on those things that you need to in order to get that career.
All right, so we're going to close this session out. I'd like to thank Tobi and Anna for presenting today. We're going to be placing the video on our YouTube channel. We'll send an email out to everybody with that too. And next month we'll be doing a Q&A session, so everybody can just join and ask us questions, and we'll have a panel of folks where you can just ask us questions for the whole hour. So that'd be kind of nice. Again, thank you everyone for joining, and have a good day.
Thank you. Thank you everyone for listening. It's great to hear all your questions and get your feedback.